welcome to Be Her TV. I am your host, Elizabeth Drolet, and tonight we've got a great show topic. Tonight we're talking about self-esteem and personal branding. We are going to take a deeper look at the true meaning of self-esteem and discuss some new information that may surprise you. We are also going to talk about things that affect our perception, such as media, Photoshop celebs, and models. Finally, Be Her TV is especially interested in what your personal brand is. We've got a variety of panelists tonight, and we will talk to each of them about their personal style, whether that be tattoos, piercings, fashion, or lack of fashion. Generally, we are going to in-depth about what your personal appearance is saying to the world. We also want to hear from you at home, so keep in mind that we invite you to comment on our Facebook page throughout the show. Now, to begin with, let's introduce our panelists.
My name is Ben Neely. I play the guitar, the piano, the clarinet, as well as singing.
My name's Olivia Wernsman, and my hair's been over 10 different colors in the last 2 years.
Hi, my name is Emily Eason, and I skipped a grade, and yesterday was my 17th birthday, so.
Hi, my name's Aaron Hosak, and my friends call me the Swiss Army knife nerd.
Now, self-esteem has been known to be vital to our success. And I just kind of want to start out the conversation with, what do you guys think? Is this self-esteem a make it or break it in terms of success?
I would call it a make it, in my opinion. I think definitely being confident in yourself and what you're doing and your opinions of yourself are definitely something that it can take you far. And if you're doubting yourself every step of the way and always second-guessing yourself, it's definitely going to hold you back.
I think that there's definitely a happy medium between having a low self-esteem and a high self-esteem, because you need to understand that you can't always be on the top of things, and there's some times where you're going to have to accept that you're not the best at everything. But there's also a benefit of having a high self-esteem, because it helps you excel and you feel good about yourself, and you can't really function without feeling good about yourself. So.
Okay.
I would absolutely agree. I think self-esteem is definitely make it or break it, and it's definitely it's a positive thing. You know, good self-esteem is awesome, because you know, if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect anybody else to?
High self-esteem, we might have not been able to get on the show.
Okay, great. That's a good reason. So why I ask that is because over the past 20 years, there's been new studies that, so 20 years ago, let me restart that. There was a whole self-esteem movement. And 20 years ago is an important part of this, because that is basically our entire childhood, you know. And so there was new studies coming out that self-esteem was a critical thing in a child's development. And the hijackers and suicide bombers were all suffering from low self-esteem. And so we're all forcing our educators and mentors to kind of push this, you know, feel good about yourself. And so it was praise given and not earned. And so the result of that now is, they're saying that is a narcissistic epidemic. And so basically, 20 years ago, we created this National Association for Self-Esteem with about 1,000 members, and we even, in California, they started a California task force to promote self-esteem and personal and social responsibility. Assemblyman John Velizelos believed that by raising his citizens' self-concepts, he could stop drug abuse and other social ills. But as we found out, it didn't work. And so I just kind of want to hear your thoughts about that.
I believe our generation definitely has a feeling of self-entitlement, like, I personally deserve this, and there's no reason why I shouldn't have this. And I think it's made us a little bit cocky over the years. So I feel like limiting that, but not eliminating it like completely, but like limiting it. So we should definitely praise people when they deserve it, but not overly praise them when they definitely don't deserve something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying, but I remember, like, when I was in elementary school, I would get something for, like, field day, and they'd give me a ribbon just because I participated. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I haven't won anything, like, I didn't do anything, why am I getting this ribbon? And I think that almost sets people up to fail in a sense, because it kind of shows them you can do whatever you want and you're still going to get acknowledged for it. And that isn't how it actually is in the real world. You have to actually make an impact and do something that's outstanding if you want to get recognized for it.
But at the same time, if you want to have the drive to be able to do something outstanding, you need to have the confidence in yourself to actually go out and do it. And you have to learn from that, and you can either, put your tail between your legs and walk away if it doesn't work, or you can keep your head up. And I just think it's really about learning from yourself and learning from what other people, give you when we're at this age. Because this is a very, very important age for, self-esteem development and confidence, because, after this, it's the real world, and, no one's going to be holding our hand through that.
Okay. Now, another interesting fact about that is these studies were showing there was no direct correlation between increased self-esteem and increased academic success. And so, like I said before, what they found was that it didn't work, that there was not much, in fact, there's not much evidence that shows that having a higher self-esteem increases success.
I would think that makes sense, because self-esteem doesn't directly correlate to determination or just inherent intelligence, because I think that those are things that you also learn through humility. I mean, you learn to get good grades by, your teachers punishing you for getting bad grades, your parents praising you when you get good grades. And I think that there's a token of humility that has to come with it for you to be a really successful person. It's not just about, praising.
Well, yeah, and I think that at a younger age, like when you're in elementary school, it's kind of teach kids, like, what is good, what is the right thing to do. But then after that age, it's more of something that has to come from you. Like, you get a good grade and you feel good about yourself, or you make an accomplishment and you feel good about yourself. And if you constantly have to depend on other people to give you awards before you feel good about yourself, then that isn't really self-esteem. That's just waiting for other people. And like she said a little while ago, you almost get a little bit cocky, like, oh, I just need all these awards, and that's how you feel good about yourself, then that isn't really self-esteem.
A lot of people think that, because in my program there's like this gifted program, but some people think if they're in the gifted program, wow, I'm doing so well, why go better? Why go higher than I'm already at? Because I'm already gifted, how high could I go? But really the people in there sometimes slack off and are the ones with that shouldn't be the gifted ones, because kind of slacking on grades.
Okay, good point. Also, I want to go back into this narcissism issue. A psychologist, Dr. Kirsten Neff, said there's an epidemic of narcissism in our culture. All the emphasis on self-esteem over the last 20 years has led to the highest level of narcissism ever recorded, especially among college students, and this is a problem. In this graph that we brought up here is actually from 1985 to 2000, and actually you can see that this is increased level. This also spawns from teachers saying you're special. Well, when kids get that, then everybody got those stickers. We saw that earlier. This ingrained sense of cockiness. Now, what do you guys think about that?
Well, there are definitely circumstances where kids do deserve to be praised for what they're doing. Like if they're getting exceptional grades or they're doing exceptional in sports. But there's definitely, like you said, like you went on a field trip and you just got an award for that. That's definitely just building the kids up just to knock them down as soon as they get into society. Realize, oh, it's not really like that. Why was I so cocky and confident in myself throughout my high school career?
Okay. Now, we're going to kind of turn tables here. Now, I've been saying that there's all this increase of praise within our generation. Now, that is true according to statistics, but however, we do have an increase of technology in Photoshop. So while we may be getting more praise, there is an outpour of Photoshop celebs, and bodies that we can never hope to look like, because they're made by a computer.
not real.
They're not real. And so I kind of want to go into that. So basically here we've got, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but this is from the Dove campaign. And this was a video originally. And basically we've got this lady on the left-hand side, and she is before and then after. And this is, you know, after her hair was done, her makeup was done, and then they went through about hours and hours of Photoshop edits. And so, and that was the final result. Now, what do you guys think about that? And that's in a poster. And, you know, this isn't limited to men. As we see here, I mean, look at this guy. His skin is darker. He's got a skinnier waistline. His muscles have been enhanced. You know, it's not just a female thing, it's males. Kim Kardashian, I mean, she is celebrated as one of the curvy celebrities in our day. And even she is being photoshopped with, you know, cellulite being taken out. And, you know, as a curvy female, you're going to have cellulite, and we're saying that that's not okay. And I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts about that.
I think that with photoshopping, we've lost the ability of really seeing somebody that's a supermodel and looking up to them as somebody that we want to achieve to be like and as motivation. And it's almost reached like an unreachable standard. And that's why I think that Photoshop isn't really what people should be doing, because there's an aspect of having a supermodel, a male or a female, and having them have an incredible body or an incredible face or something and saying, I want to be like that. I want to work towards that and get something like that. And when you just Photoshop it all out to an unreachable standard, it's kind of just ruins that. And it's like, I can never be like that. And, you know, it kind of just ruins the aspiration.
Okay, good point. Now, if we got here, if you want to go back to that picture of Britney Spears, this actually kind of shows you exactly what they did to her body. We've got a smaller waist, slimmer thighs, bruises removed. You know, we're saying that even like bruises are not acceptable. And so, I mean, that's a whole nother point of beauty. That, you know, don't even play outdoors because you might get a bruise, and that's not okay by our society's standards. What do you guys think about that?
It's really discouraging, and I think it distorts people's perceptions of appearance and attractiveness, because you have these girls looking up to these supermodels that don't actually look like that. And then you have, you know, these boys looking at these supermodels expecting, you know, their next girlfriend to look like that. And so the standard is really, really unreal, and it's just really discouraging because nobody's happy with what they get, and that's just terrible.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
I think it's definitely more for like younger girls and younger boys that are seeing these advertisements and these models, and they're thinking that this is how you're supposed to be when you get older. Like, after you reach a certain point, you personally realize, like in high school, that it's
Olivia, oh.
you realize that it's obviously this isn't a point where you can actually reach with yourself, and you learn that when you get older. But when you're younger, it's definitely hurting impressionable young minds who are watching these advertisements and thinking that they have to be like that when they get older.
That's a good point. Now it looks like we have a question or a comment from our audience.
I'd like to take a spin off what you guys were saying about the photoshopping of actors and celebrities and models, etc. And I would actually like to argue that that's a positive thing, because what we strive for as humans is we strive for perfection. And I think that a lot of people have fitness goals that involve some sort of perfection of their physique. And I think that, you know, when you see actors like the ones in 300 that are clearly photoshopped, you know, no one has abs that look like that. But it's not completely unrealistic photoshopping. Like, it's definitely results that you could potentially see. And I think it's good to strive for that perfection and to use those people as an example and to try to make yourself as perfect as you can and see how that motivation come through in your everyday life.
Okay. Now, what do you guys think about that?
I definitely actually agree with that a lot. I think that one thing that we need to teach kids, though, is that this isn't something that you're just going to have. And if you don't have it, don't feel upset with yourself about it, because nobody has that. And I think that instead of teaching, I think that we should teach them this is what you should achieve. This is what you should want to achieve and what you should want to have. But I think that we should also tell them that nobody just has it. because there are a lot of people that complain constantly about how they look or whatever, and they're all upset about their appearance, but they don't do anything to change it. And it's because I don't really think that we're telling people this is something that you should achieve to be. This is something that you should want, and this is something that you should look up to instead of something that you should turn away from. And there's a big movement that be 100% comfortable with your body, but like Foster said, it's not, as humans, we're not going to sit here and just be happy with what we have. It's our inclination to want to have more and be better. And I think that that's a positive of the photoshopping.
I have a question. Who came up with the whole human striving for perfection thing? Who started that? Like, seriously, who told us that we had to be perfect? Because we were born to stand out. If we were, see, our fingers are different, and we even have different tongue prints than each other. Shouldn't we all be different?
That's an excellent point. I absolutely agree. Does anybody have any comments about that?
I think it's important to be yourself and be different, but it's also important to have goals in mind for how you want to look. Like, I know that I wake up every morning and I think to myself, okay, yeah, maybe I don't look like this person, or maybe I don't act like this person, but I can still be myself and still aspire to be that way and still want to improve myself. And I think that going back on self-confidence, one thing that really makes me feel more confident about myself is knowing that I want to improve, and knowing that I have a goal in mind as what I want to look like, or what I want to dress like, or what I want to act like.
I do think that it's important to, like, strive to look better, but that shouldn't be your whole thing that you should be looking at. You should also be looking at what you want to be when you grow up. Not that I just want a six-pack, because that won't get you money unless you're a model. And if you're a model, as we see, you get photoshopped. So you're not even showing off your real body. So what's the point?
Does anybody want to respond to that? Emily, looks like you have something to say.
I think that, you know, there's definitely part of me that wakes up as a teenage girl, and their insecurities and their aspirations and their goals. And then there's the part of me that I come back to at the end of the day, where, you know, I realize that, you know, I can't be perfect, and that is the truth of it. And there's no sugarcoating. There is no, like, oh, I'm perfectly perfect with my flaws. Like, no, the perfection does not exist. And it's nice to have something to aspire to achieve, but there's always the part of you that you have to come back to where you realize that, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and we don't have to look up to these standards. We let society make these standards, and we choose to let society make us feel pressured to, you know, aspire to be like that. And it goes back to, you know, that everybody is different. You know, he had a great point that we're all made to be different, so why should we try to fit this mold of perceived beauty? And yeah.
You were talking about how you eventually come to the realization that you can't be perfect. What about the people who can't jump back to that realization, and the people who are seeing these media images and are actually hurting themselves in order to achieve this unreachable standard that the media is setting in place?
Then a movement needs to happen. I mean, something needs to happen to let everybody know that that's just, you know, that's the way that people should think about themselves, you know? Like, it's not bad to want to change yourself, to want to change your body for the better, but when and it does, I mean, it happens all the time. There are millions and millions of girls with eating disorders and that self-harm, and it's heartbreaking. You know, I know a few of them, and I was one of them. You know, I've been a ballerina for 13 years, and it is really incredibly hard to get up in front of a mirror every day in a leotard and not just overanalyze everything that's wrong about your body that you think is wrong. And it's really a self-discovery thing, you know, and it takes the support of friends and family, and it takes the support of society. You know, society needs to be there telling us that we're okay and that we're going to grow up all right and that we're beautiful the way we are. That's cheesy, but hey, that's what gets you through.
And I think that overall it's just a delicate balance. I think it's kind of, you need to be comfortable with yourself, and I think that we need to tell people that being yourself is that's the way that you want to be. You want to be yourself, and you need to understand that you are beautiful, but you can also change and make yourself happier with who you are. And one thing that increases a lot of people's self-confidence is like looking in the mirror after working out for 2 months and saying, I did that, I achieved that, I made myself look the way that I want to. And so I think that fall back on it at the end of the day and saying, yeah, I can't be perfect, and I can be happy with who I am, and I am a really beautiful person, really, but I can also change myself for the better. And I think that it's just a balance.
That's interesting. That's a good point. Emily, I was interested in the part where you said, I know that sounds cheesy, and you kind of laughed. Do you think that's why we stay away from those, like, you're beautiful the way you are?
Yeah,
Do you think there's a stigma because we're like, oh my gosh, that's a cheesy thought, I mean, what do you think? Is that a reason that we stay away from those self-benefiting thoughts?
I think we're sick of hearing it if we can't believe it. I mean, I think everybody is really genuine when they tell you, like, hey, you are so beautiful the way you are, and I wouldn't change a thing about you, but you're sitting there because society has indoctrinated this image of these tall, beautiful models into your head, and you're not even listening to when they say that. You're not even listening to them. They're telling you to your face that you're beautiful, and it is absolutely 100% genuine, but you don't believe it because that's the way our society works, and it's terrible that we laugh at, someone telling me that I'm absolutely beautiful the way I am, because I would rather believe someone telling me that I need to change myself and that I could do so much better, and I need to lose 20 pounds, and I would rather believe that than believe someone telling me that I'm beautiful the way I am. And that's just the harsh truth of it.
Wow, that is quite a strong statement. We'd rather believe, the opposite than have those uplifting thoughts within our heads. What do you guys think about that?
I definitely feel like whenever I receive a compliment, I automatically deny it because often at times I can't believe that in myself, so why would someone else feel that way about me? So I immediately just shoot it down, but then I've remembered insults since I was in elementary school, and so I definitely feel like negative influence from society and from peers and from all that kind of stuff. It's definitely easier and it sticks with you better than believing that you're actually a good person and you are completely fine the way that you are. So
this media thing that is going on, because we keep mentioning the media and how it's telling us how we should be. But the thing is, should we really believe the media on that? Coming from the media that one time, a while back when there were still radios, this guy was talking about the War of the Worlds, and everybody believed him because he was telling this great scene where Martians were shooting down everyone. And then everyone was scared that we were really having War of the Worlds, but in reality, this guy was just playing a joke on everyone. So, should we really believe the media on that kind of stuff?
What do you guys think?
Well, I think it's definitely changed in media over the years, definitely with photos and videos and things like that. But I think that with this whole self-confidence movement, the media has become more aware of this stuff. And I've seen more and more and more modeling campaigns, and like there was one, it was like a Dove soap commercial, and every single one of the women in the soap commercial was like above a certain weight or something, and it was all showcasing, this is how you are, you're beautiful the way that you are, and like you don't need to change yourself. And I think that the only way that people are going to be able to understand that you should be comfortable with yourself is if that's society's image. And if society thinks you don't have to change yourself, you can still aspire to change yourself for the better, but the way you are is fine. And I think that the only way that people are really going to be able to be 100% okay with that is if that's society's image, instead of you have to grow up and look like Kim Kardashian. Like that's society's image right now. But I think it's slowly changing and becoming more of a people will admire you more if you're comfortable with yourself.
Now, why do you think it's slowly changing?
I think that people are becoming more aware. I think that a lot of people, more and more news coverage has been put on stories of people who have killed themselves in the worst of situations or have started harming themselves, and people are starting to realize that for a while it was acceptable to just show all this stuff, but people are actually really becoming affected by it, and I think people are starting to realize that it's time to not be as judgmental, and it's time to really embrace people for who they are.
Absolutely. I think that people are starting to realize that their 12-year-old girls are skipping lunch and not eating, the buns on their hamburgers. People are starting to realize that this is a problem and that it needs to be fixed.
Okay. Now we have an audience comment. What do you say?
Yeah, so I'd like to ask a prodding question for you guys. I'm wondering if it's actually a bad thing that the media is promoting these images of these skinny people, because it's a proven fact that you can change your body with a combination of diet and exercise. Anyone can have the body that they would like. And there's numerous studies that show that fitness and exercise is linked to benefits with the brain and other parts of the body. So I'm wondering if it's a bad thing that the media is promoting these skinny people, because we grew up, humans over the course of time have evolved from a hunter-gatherer, basically tribesmen who hunted for their own food, where they had to be exercising all the time, to more of a sedentary lifestyle. So I'm wondering if it's a bad thing that we're promoting these skinny people when we have such an obesity epidemic in our country. So I'm saying maybe it is a good thing that we're telling people that they should look a certain way, because it's actually better for us.
Okay.
Well, I think what we want to promote is healthy, not skinny. And so if we can somehow implement that instead of, because I understand what he's saying, and that, because of obesity rates, and that's kind of been our new culture is, fatter people. And that we're seeing that's not okay, obesity in children. So, skinnier people are, maybe what we should be looking up to. But the problem is when we try to get in these perfect molds, because girls come in all shapes and sizes, and what's healthy for someone may not be healthy for another person. So we've got bigger boned people that need more weight on their bones, and that's a healthy weight. And what do you guys?
I think that the line is blurred between healthy and skinny. I feel like teenage girls, teenage boys, middle-aged girls, women, whatever. I think it's very hard for people to distinguish between fit and skinny, because I think they believe they're synonymous. And we live in a society of instant gratification. You pop dinner in the microwave, it's done in 2 minutes. On-demand movies. Anything you can think of. You online shop, you click it, it's on its way. And we live in this society of instant gratification, and we don't want to have to wait 6 months to lose 30 pounds. It's much easier to stick your finger down your throat than to diet and exercise for 3 months. And that's the harsh truth of it. I know that sounds really brash, but that's the truth of it. And so I don't know if it's healthy to be promoting them without saying, but this is how you get here. Don't get there through this. Get there, by these means. And I think that's where the line is drawn.
Well, I know that occasionally when I'll be watching TV or something, a commercial will come on that's like promoting healthy eating or healthy living, and it's like it tells you what you need to do. Like the one that sticks in my mind was somebody just came on the screen and they said, if you can get up and stop watching TV after this episode or whatever and go ride your bike for 25 minutes and do that every day for this much, you'll probably lose this amount of weight or whatever will happen. And I think that that's what we need to be promoting, is how to do it, how to achieve it. And because I think that instant gratification is definitely an interesting point that I hadn't really thought of. People don't want to put in the work to get what they need. But then also going off of your point of healthy versus skinny, I think that it's also almost a positive that we have people like Kim Kardashian or like Beyonce or somebody that's like a little bit curvier and has a little bit more to them than somebody like Molly King or Cara Delevingne or somebody that's just like a stick. And for both of those people, that's how their bodies are. Some people are meant to be skinny and some people are meant to be a little bit curvier. And I think it's good that we're starting to show more images of both of those body types to show people you can be healthy, and there's a difference between being healthy and being a twig.
And again, with the whole, isn't it good for them to have the skinny people so that we can see what we want to strive for? We shouldn't strive for that because photoshopped. We shouldn't go for that because we aren't going to get like that because they're photoshopped. We shouldn't strive for that. We shouldn't diet and exercise. Well, we should, but we shouldn't diet and exercise to get to that skinny because they're photoshopped. How are we going to do that without some kind of digital editing?
That's what I was thinking as he was saying that, because he did bring up Kim Kardashian, and as we saw in that picture, she was edited. And so, that is an interesting point, because even our curvy role models are being edited. And what do you guys think about that? No?
I think everybody's edited. The skinny people are edited, the curvy people are edited, and you're not going to be able to avoid editing. It's when you're somebody like Kim Kardashian, especially, your appearance is your livelihood. She gets paid to look good every day. And so, no matter what, they're going to be edited. And I think that awareness is what we really need to be teaching instead of, I think that we just need to teach them. This is like at the bottom of a magazine ad. It's so easy. And when they do something like a depression medicine, they're able to list everything that could happen if you take that medication. So when they take a Photoshop picture, they should say, this photo has been Photoshopped, so people can realize that. And it'll kind of start to sink in, like, this isn't just natural. This is changed. This is the computer.
But if you're saying something like that, why do you even need to Photoshop the image in the first place? Like, I think there are definitely some people that are underweight and skinny. Why do we still have to Photoshop them to make them look better if they already look fine the way that they are?
We've got a comment from the audience.
I would like to throw in that back to the media and how they're making these celebrities look good. I think it's because those people that they are making look good are the people that have made it that far and the ones that are actually successful. And I think they would like to show a lot of people that the successful ones are the healthy ones and are the ones that look good. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just throwing that in there.
Okay. What do you guys think about that?
Well, it's not just the celebrities that are being photoshopped. Like, how many times have you uploaded a picture to Facebook without editing it before you posted it?
That's very true. I mean, I've noticed a lot of people, they'll put a photo on Facebook or whatever, a lot of girls as well, and it'll be just their face and it'll say something like no filter, or they'll put it on Instagram and it'll be like hashtag no filter. And I feel like, okay, that just shows that they think it's going to be shocking that they haven't edited themselves. And I think it's almost become a bit of a something that's just ingrained in people's head. Like when I take a photo and I'm on like my iPad or something, I can go in and remove blemishes, I can make teeth whiter, I can do all that stuff and cut things out of the photo. So now I can do it to myself or to people in my family when I upload a photo or something. Like, what is that saying about, do you actually have to work for what you want? Do you if you want to look this way, do you actually have to put work in? Or can you just take a picture and edit it and make yourself look that way?
Interesting. We're living in a world of filters. What do you guys think about that?
I think that I shouldn't be uncomfortable not wearing makeup to school. Like, it shouldn't be uncomfortable for me to let people see my face. I mean, I know I went through this phase when I was probably like 12 where I wore super thick black eyeliner every day, and I never bothered to take it all off. Like, I would wash my face and my eyeliner would kind of just, it would stay in my eye. And then I was looking at my face in the mirror one day and I was like, I have not seen my eyes in like 2 months. Probably legitly like 2 months. I really never bothered to take all the eyeliner off. And that was just like, it was shocking to me. I was like, where did my face go? And I stopped wearing makeup to school after that day. And it was weird. People would look at me and they'd be like, are you sick? And I'd be like, this is my face. This is literally how I am supposed to look. And it was shocking to people. And I just think what does it come to when the way I'm supposed to look is shocking?
I think people have just taken it kind of overboard. It's like they have all these different makeups that you can use, and I think that a little bit of makeup is fine. There's nothing wrong with wearing makeup, and I think it's part of being a person. You want to make yourself look better, and it's part of your goal, but people will put on so much of like bronzer, especially to make themselves look so tan, to a point where that just isn't how you are anymore, and it isn't you. And people don't realize that I'll walk up to a girl and I can tell if she's wearing like a ton of bronzer because she just looks fake. And people are starting to take it overboard and not realizing that you don't have to do that much. You can do a little bit to bring out your face a little bit more, but you don't have to go way overboard.
You know, I think it's interesting because over here you guys kind of have different opinions. You know, you're kind of saying that, you know, people wear makeup. This is our society, and like we're kind of trying to represent like, oh, you know, true beauty is where it's at, and you know, I kind of like that you're saying, but this is kind of society. This is what we're living with, is these societal standards, and why we all, you know, have somewhat of an idea of like your natural beauty is the best. It's not almost real, you know, and so it's kind of interesting to hear from both you and Aaron, and you know, because Aaron has this very like, we are who we are, we have different fingerprints. Why isn't different, you know, being different more celebrated than being the same? And so
Another thing is, have there been any modern musicians that haven't changed their style at all? Like, look at Taylor Swift. She used to be a country singer. Now she sings kind of digitalized. I don't even know what to call it. It's changed so much, and it's kind of sad.
Well, the thing that concerns me about a lot of these movements, to be honest, is that I don't want people to give up. I don't want people to think that they can just sit there and watch their TV and eat like a bag of chips and everyone will just love them for who they are. Part of living is aspiring to be something and changing and experiencing those changes and becoming who you want to be. And I'm worried that if we just tell people that they don't have to try, they don't have to put work in, they can just be however they want to be and they're perfect. It kind of destroys people's motivation and people's want to get up and say, I'm going to go to the gym today. I'm going to go work out for half an hour and make myself look better. It's going to be more like, I'll sit here and eat this bag of chips and the extra 5 pounds I'll gain will just make me look more beautiful. I mean, there's a balance between telling people that they don't have to try and telling people that they have to go to the extremes and starve themselves. People are losing the balance. People are losing the idea that you can be comfortable with yourself and still want to make yourself better and improve yourself.
Moderation, everything in moderation. I absolutely agree. We've got an audience.
All right, well, I'm sorry to bring the conversation back around to makeup again, but I just want to say that I'm all for makeup, and I think anything that you want to use to increase your own personal confidence, power to you, because speaking from personal experience, I've actually used makeup. Last weekend during the musical, they had to put makeup on me, and at first I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. But then actually girls started to come up and tell me, wow, you look really good in makeup. And all that did was really increase my confidence. So if I'm going to be fake, but people are going to tell me I look great and it raises my self-esteem, then I'm going to do stuff like that. So I'm not telling you that I'm going to start wearing makeup more often, but I just think anything that you personally want to do that increases your self-confidence, go ahead and do it. And who cares if it's fake or not fake? You can wear makeup. You don't have to wear makeup. Whatever works.
I actually highly agree with that notion. It's all about what makes you feel better about you, and I mean, it's different for everyone.
But then it comes down to the question, how are you going to feel about yourself when you take it all off?
And that's another
like,
side of that.
I think if you want to wear a little bit of makeup and make yourself look good, I'm all for that. Like, you're going to get some compliments. I remember when I wore foundation or whatever in middle school for plays and stuff, people would say, oh my God, your skin looks so beautiful. Like, how did you do that? And it's like, oh, I'm wearing foundation. Like, I don't, for me personally, I wouldn't really take that as a huge compliment, because it would be like, this isn't me. I haven't achieved this. I haven't.
Yeah, I think to each their own.
This is actually like Mac. Mac brought me this beautiful skin, not me. So.
What do you guys think about that?
I'm just going to go with the moderation thing again. There's definitely a point in time where you have to look at yourself and realize I definitely don't look the same when I'm wearing makeup than when I'm not wearing makeup. And you have to acknowledge that in yourself, and you have to realize that you're not always going to be able to hide behind that makeup that you wear every day. And I'm definitely guilty of being one of those people who can't walk out the door without putting on makeup first. And I don't know when I reached that point in my life, but I feel like even I can't go out in public anymore without wearing makeup. Even when I'm with friends, I'm uncomfortable taking off my makeup during sleepovers and things like that. And
And that's a problem.
yeah.
I know I said before that I agreed with that, but as I'm hearing now, I'm thinking of that celebrity that majorly changed herself. Heidi, do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Heidi Klum.
Or not Heidi Klum, but it's okay. Well, she was a beautifully natural girl, and then from nowadays she is hardly recognizable, and she's got, I mean, massive fake boobs, and she's got cheek implants, and you know, and she all the time was just saying, this is making me feel more beautiful. And I think we need to understand when it's not healthy anymore, and you know, when those extremes to feel good about ourselves is not healthy, and we need to be, you know, more acknowledging as a society of that. And so, you know, we've kind of hammered out this topic. Let's move on over to personal branding. Basically, you know, we've got a diverse crowd here. You know, right in front of me, we've got 4 kids, and it's very different. From your leggings, you know, before the show started, we were talking about, you were saying it's the galaxy, and I mean, I thought
man.
that was a great response. I mean, what do your personal styles say about, what are you trying to self-express to the world?
I eventually, like when I first started dyeing my hair and dressing the way that I did, I was definitely trying to stand out from the crowd, rebel, and now it's just become kind of the normal thing for me. And I am just the kid who dyes her hair, who just kind of sticks out in school, and I'm just kind of accepting that at this point. So,
Yeah, okay. Ben?
I would say that the way that I dress, what I'm kind of trying to show people is like culture, because I get a little bit culture deprived where I live here without a lot of like, you know, things to go see like you would in a big city. And I think that what I try to reflect the way that I dress is, I'm kind of trying to say, not fitting in 100% with the stereotypical, you know, like role of a guy in where I live, where you get up, you put on your basketball shorts, and you dress lazy, and then you go play football. And not every guy is like that, but I like to try to stand out a little bit more like that and say I want to care about how I look and how I dress and how people perceive me, and do I look classy? Do I look nice? Do I present myself in a nice way? And, you know, I'm wearing like bright red pants. I mean, you don't really see that a lot on a whole lot of guys, but it's like culture. It's like a different, you know, kind of trying to express the way that I dress with fashion and stuff like that.
Interesting. Erin, you kind of have an interesting style. You've embraced nerdiness, and you know, you're just kind of saying, I'm a nerd, what's up? And it's almost like nerds are more cool than they were. It's kind of more hipster nowadays. It's like the 90s nerd has turned into the 2010 cool hipster. If you want to kind of explain.
Being a nerd is pretty awesome. I have another nerd friend who made up this. See, that's not a real nerd. That's an Urkel, not a nerd. That's the stereotypical nerd. This is the real nerd. They wear flux capacitor T-shirts. Come on, who doesn't love that movie? And also, I have this friend who named Tate Brown. He's also going to be a panelist eventually. Thank goodness, because he has a lot of views on stuff. Well, he was being interviewed on the bus by this girl who has swag, and he felt he had 7 units of swag, and he came up with this thing called GOS, swag backwards, and he called it the GOS Academy. He's a great guy, and being a nerd is just awesome. Who doesn't love being a nerd? You get to be smart, and everybody likes you. It's not like they don't like you, because everybody likes nerds. Who doesn't like nerds? Seriously. They come to us for questions. If you're not nice to us, we're not going to give you answers. We're going to tell you, where's the answer in the book? In the book, of course. Look in the book. You haven't looked there yet. I'm sure you haven't. If you're asking me.
That's funny. Okay.
I think it's interesting the comment that you made that the like olden day nerd is like today's like hipster, and I think it's definitely true. I mean, I can reflect it in my wardrobe as well, like button-up shirts that you button up all the way to your neck, and you wear like a sport coat and like rolled up pants that are like rolled up at the bottom. And I mean, that's used to be a nerd, and I think it's interesting that it took that long for that nerd to become kind of the cool thing. And I think it's so cool that he's like comfortable with his like today's nerd as like, I'm the smart one, I'm the one that gets to be myself and do all this, and I think that's cool.
And I love when people ask me questions about my T-shirts. I just got like 10 new ones for my birthday. This is one of them. One of them is Schrodinger's cat. Everyone's like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's a thought experiment that Schrodinger came up with a cat in a box with a radioactive material, got your counter attached to a counter, to a hammer, and a radioactive substance. You only know if the cat's dead if you open the box.
Okay. All right. And on that note,
See, I'm funny. Everyone's laughing.
you are funny. Yeah, you should have spoke up a lot earlier.
I should have.
Where have you been hiding? Okay.
You didn't ask me the right questions.
Well, now I am. So we're kind of running out of time, but I kind of briefly want to go through tattoos and like that's becoming more of an epidemic, I guess. And now what was once reserved for sailors is now being seen on teachers and more professionals. And do you guys see that tattoos becoming more acceptable in like a professional standard? Like, do you see like somebody on an interview being able to have a tattoo on their hand, or as we see here?
I think tattoos are fine as long as it's not making fun of someone else. I'm great with them. I think that they're great art.
I think there's
Just keep going.
there's definitely a limit to like what kind of tattoos are acceptable in society. Like if you're going into a job interview, you don't want to have like the face tattoos, full arm sleeves, anything like that. Anything that's not visible is definitely more professional than something that's clearly visible and isn't well hidden.
No, absolutely. I agree. I have a tattoo, and that's it's actually something that's like actually kind of surprising to some people because they're like, oh, you have a tattoo, that's cool. And it's something that I'm very good at hiding, and I'm very good at changing my appearance. And I think that that's if you can fool people, then I think that there's definitely a plus to that.
I think you just need to be reserved with tattoos. I mean, tattoos are going to reflect the way that you act and the way that you perceive life and the way that you are. And if you come in with, like, skulls on your arms and stuff like that, if I was a job interviewer, I'd kind of be a little bit more hesitant. And it's just the real world. And I think that tattoos are fine. You just can't go, like, way overboard with it. And you also want to make sure that you don't get something that you regret later in life, because if you're 80 years old and you're out on the beach and you have this, like, old tattoo that was cool when you were like 18, you're going to be kind of like, why did I get that? Because people kind of don't realize once you get one, you can't really take it away unless you want to put a lot of time and money and pain.
Along with the thing where you're like, but it's out of style now. Bring it back into style. Who told you that you couldn't bring stuff back into style?
And we've got a question over here.
Well, I just kind of wanted to throw something out there. My mom's works for the human resources department at the Hot Springs, and like big part of her job is training new employees. And one of the big things she always throws out there in her trainings is that the 7-11 rule is what she calls it. And it's a study that said in the first 7 seconds that a customer walks into your business, they will subconsciously make 11 like assumptions about that business. So if people have tattoos and stuff like that, whether or not you think it's right, people could be assuming, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that person, I don't like their tattoos, and that could be harmful towards your business. So do you think it's okay to not hire people because they have tattoos from their aspect of trying to make money?
I kind of want to say before that, with the change of that tattoos have seen, just in the last 50 years, our whole idea of tattoos have changed. And while we're getting it's kind of the older generation of, like not hiring based on appearance and tattoos. And so so as we get, as the generation progresses, and those old attitudes die out, we're going to be having a whole new idea of what tattoos are and what they represent. And so old ideas will die.
I think that going off what Jack said, it's definitely an important part of owning a business. Like, what will people think of this tattoo? Kind of what you're saying is, what will society's judgment of somebody with a bunch of tattoos be? And nobody can deny that every single person judges other people. Everybody judges people. Nobody doesn't. I mean, it's just something that you do. You see somebody, you look at their appearance and you make a judgment about them right then. You might not say it, but you do. And I think that from an employer's perspective, they need to think, what is best for my business? This person made a mistake in getting this tattoo, and that's going to hurt them eventually, because I can't have you working this position. Because I know that, like, when I was in New York, I'd see a restaurant that was run by people with really weird cut hair and covered in piercings and tattoos, and it was kind of a rundown, almost looking restaurant. And immediately, my judgment was, I don't want to eat there. I don't think it's going to be good food. I don't think it's going to be clean. I don't think it's going to be very nice. And I look across the street at the restaurant with the person in their little bow tie suit standing outside with a menu waiting for me, and right then my judgment is, that's the restaurant that I want to go to. Is it going to be true or not? I don't know, but I can't help that that's what I think.
Okay.
It's kind of just a human thought process to judge people right when you meet them. But I try to, and not usually succeed, to meet them first, get to know them first, then judge them.
Okay. All right. Well, that is actually all the time we have today, but I appreciate all your thoughts. We had a really good discussion. Stay tuned for next week, and we will see you guys soon. Thank you. Have a good night.